Hey y'all, sorry about the delay. Sorry about the delay. I had to run to the little girl's room real quick. My bladder is no good. So that's something else that don't work. How y'all doing? We're going to have our crown chat today. Hope everybody is excited. First off, we got to do our housekeeping. Y'all, please hit the like button. If you didn't hit it on your way in, please reach on out there, hit that like button for me. If you have not done so, subscribe. Hey Prince, oh my God, I can't believe you made it. Hit that like button, and also please hit the notification bell, click all, so that you'll know every time we go live and you won't miss out on anything, okay? And let me take a look. Y'all know I love to, and forgive me for being just silly with that. But I like to say hello and greet everybody when we first come in the room so we can have a chat and everybody feels welcome. Rah Rastjoy online, how are you? Egypt Now, how you doing? We got Miss Rochelle, Marva, Christian Key. Okay. I don't know what it is about Christian. I just love her. SFF, how you doing? DC, the other half of my archangels. I got my Egypt and DC. I feel a whole lot better every time I see them. Hey, Sharon Redmond. Wani, how you doing? The beautiful Black Diamond, how are you? Quasia, hey. Alicia, you made it in today? That is so awesome. Plum, Helene Easley, how you doing? My sis, M. Renee Spiller, how are you? Auntie Eva, how you doing? Learning to love myself, how are you? Natural born queen, hey. I know that's right. Some of y'all, I saw you this morning. Okay, Kia Coco Pop, how you doing? Silver Diamond, how you doing? Here she go with the eyeball. What's going on with these eyeballs, Silver? Oh my. AVL, how are you? Janice Christopher, hello. Mackenzie with eyeballs. What is going on with eyeballs? Y'all gotta help me out with that strange stuff now. Danielle, how you doing? How you doing? Zoe, good to see you. Okay. Hey, okay, now I don't know how to say it. Is this G Manla? One? I hope I got that right. But hello to you. There's my silver diamond with her mirrors. CC Miller, how you doing, Sister D. Marie? All right. Love my dogs too. Good to see you. She said, hey, everyone, is still with the I don't know, Mackenzie, but how you doing? I can't stop watching. All right. Yolanda Franklin, how you doing? Alita, good to see you. Marva, Divatude, okay. My cousin Prince, how you doing? I love you. Love you, love you, love you. Latrice, how you? Okay, listen, guys, you said buffering, or is it just you? I don't know. Is anybody else buffering before we get started? I hope that we're not buffering for anybody else. Are we buffering? All right. Brownie, how you doing? Rod Storm, hello. Okay, Alethea says she's not buffering. DC, you might have to go out and come back in. That might be what it is. Okay, no buffering here. All right, and JC made it. Okay. Oh, hey, Paul. I love my brother. I haven't had a chance to talk with him like I normally do. So it's always good to see him. She said it's probably the Wi-Fi. Okay, got it. All right, so we good. Oh, Helene, eyeballs is confused. Okay, probably because I took too long. That's what that was. Y'all don't get me. I'm sorry. Like I say, my bladder just don't want to work. I don't know what else to do. Hey, Sharon. All right. Oh, put the banner up. Thank you, SFL. That's what I'm talking about. Y'all look out for me. Y'all know I forget stuff and I won't get it right. So I appreciate you. I really do. Little boss lady, how you doing? I see you slid on in here. Okay, so bear in mind what I told y'all this morning, our schedule for today. We're supposed to go over and see Princess, and we may not stay for that entire stream because that one can run long. But we do have scheduled the rest of our Revisiting the Pink series. So we're going to go and lend our support and show some love and have some laughs. We're going to head on back over here. And what we're going to do is we're going to have our Revisiting the Pink watch party in our Zoom if you want to come and watch. And then we'll be back on the porch so we can discuss. Oh, thank you, Brownie Brown. So we can discuss episodes 3, 4, 5, and 6 of P Valley. Okay? All right. Kim Bird, how you doing? I'm glad you made it in. Okay. So y'all saw the title. Y'all know I'm always messing around with them titles, right? Call your mama or your daddy. Okay. So what we're talking about today are those parental issues or issues with the parentals. Okay. Hey, Rochelle. All right. So when I say that, it's not your usual, oh, let's whine and cry and blame mama. Because I don't really believe in doing that. And look like we got a new royal family member. Wait a minute. I don't even want to get into nothing until I address everything. Brownie Brown, you became a royal family member. Y'all didn't tell me. I see Spiller now welcoming her. Y'all give her a royal family welcome, would you please? Let her know she is welcome here at the royal family. We are happy to see her, and you are highly welcome. Please come back again. Come often and make sure that you participate with us and take advantage of every advantage, every right that membership allows. Mother of Diamonds, good to see you make it on here. Yep, y'all make sure that you all welcome her. Okay? Y'all know how we do. We don't let family come in and we don't let them know that we happy to have them. That's right. Thank y'all so much. I appreciate that. Okay? So back to this conversation. Hello there, you made it. How are you? Okay. So we're talking about those things that affect our behavior. And they've affected us to an extent that now we're kind of carrying some of it around. It's not the extent where we're sitting around crying and blaming mama for everything going wrong in our lives. I don't necessarily believe in that. Hey, Maureen Mercer, how you doing? All right. Okay. None of that. That's not what I mean. What I do mean is, hey, Jesse, what I do mean is we got to first start with what we like to do best, which is take accountability, right? So if y'all will, y'all know I love to play the game where we dig into our royal family emojis and grab those emojis, grab your royal family mirror emoji, and I want you to spam the chat with mirrors because this is a heavy accountability moment, right? I have to do it all the time when it comes to this particular topic because no matter how many times you check, it's still going to be some leftover stuff. Still going to be some leftover stuff. Also, I'm only seeing 48 like buttons. Can y'all please get my likes up? I'd appreciate it. Please, please, please. Yes, I see the mirrors in the chat. Now, let's talk about our accountability moment when it comes to these things, right? What we're looking at when we start talking about that accountability on this one is let's check those behaviors that we may have that may either mirror our parents' behaviors that weren't so great or behavior that we know a direct response to behaviors that mama or daddy may have had that weren't so great. Okay? Like, okay, let me give you an example. Y'all know I always start with me because I'm usually the first one to let you know I got a lot of stuff that I'm still working through myself. I still ain't figured it all out. You know, we kind of figuring it out together, which is why I love having our crown chats, right? Okay. Hey, Tina. But that's why I like having them. So for me, an example, when my children were smaller, because they're grown now, I got one left as a teenager, and so that means she'll be gone soon. Today is your birthday, Veronica Barnes. Happy birthday to you. Y'all show Veronica some birthday love in the chat, okay? So one of the things that I found myself doing when my children were young, I found myself, hey, Janice Christopher, as far as discipline, I found myself being as strict as my mother was, and sometimes not in a good way. Sometimes there was not an opportunity for them to just be children. And I corrected it after the fact, but at that time, I know that I was dead wrong. Like I was not, I didn't have the right attitude. I was carrying a lot of that parenting style from my mother that wasn't the best. And I had to, like I said, it went on like that for years. I had to correct myself after the fact. I wasn't even aware of the damage that I could be doing by carrying that behavior over. Another example of what I would say, an example of behavior that is a direct result of some of the treatment or some of the things from my childhood was we were never allowed to cry. Like never. You just didn't cry. There was no reason for it. And some of y'all from the country know, your parents will tell you in a hurry, shut up that hollering. And looking back, that was such a dramatic and damaging response to a child simply just crying. And especially when you weren't hollering, sometimes you could be quiet or silent and a tear roll down your cheek and they could end up telling you to shut up that hollering. Okay. And so because that was one of those things that went on in my house, as I got older, I found myself not only not crying, I also found myself, thank you, Renee H. So you know what I'm talking about. I found myself not only not crying, but being annoyed with people who did cry. I would be so annoyed with anybody who did cry. Like if you came to me and tried to talk about, what you were going through or your problems. Yeah, let me see bullseyes in the chat if I'm talking about anything that y'all can relate to. Okay. And I would be completely annoyed. Like I could show empathy up until that point. Like I could listen to you explain what you were going through. I could understand your point. I could try to understand what you were saying was happening to you. But as a direct result of my upbringing and where I was coming from, I immediately shut down. The minute one tear fell, I immediately shut down. I didn't want to hear anything else you had to say. It was almost like it was an internal, like not almost, it definitely was an internalized response. Like it was almost reflex. It was almost pure reflex. The minute crying started, I shut down and I wasn't able to receive anything else. I immediately was annoyed and I wanted to make the person stop. That's a direct result. Or, I ended up, because I wasn't allowed to be able to like openly say I was afraid of things. And I don't feel like I'm talking bad about my mama because y'all know I love her. And I honestly believe that some of the mistakes she made were absolutely with the best of intentions. She had her own trauma. Y'all know we have to remember our parents are people. They didn't just fall from the heavens as parents with a handbook and a hat and a uniform. They're people. So sometimes they had their own traumas and psychological triggers and different things. So I can't get into all of that. But it was something. So she had a thing where we weren't allowed to be afraid or say that we were afraid of anything. I remember being afraid to go take trash out because it was dark outside. And so when she realized I was afraid to go outside because it was dark, she put me out the door and she locked the door. And when she locked the door, like my brothers and sisters, you know how siblings are, because I'm the baby. They would do stuff to scare me, child. They would go all out the side of the house and rattle the bushes and make noise and stuff. And they would scare me and I would think somebody was coming to get me. And I was much, much younger and I would start crying and knocking on the door. And my mother would say, you better shut up. Do whatever's out there going to come get you. It's going to, whatever out there going to know you out there. And, I learned to be quiet. I learned not to be afraid. I learned to turn fear into anger. That sort of thing. I never acknowledged it. If you were afraid of the dark, she'd take all your lights. I remember my daddy would give me night lights. And sometimes when she caught it, she'd take it. And eventually, which is why I love my daddy so much, he just turned on the hall light. And it was real clear, like, you better not shut it off. Hey, Ronetta. And that's, that was kind of my saving grace, because I had all those issues. And I kind of shared with y'all briefly earlier about some of the bad dreams and issues I used to have when I was little. I didn't go into too much detail because that's just too much. But that type of stuff. So I ended up not wanting to hear about people being afraid. Like coming to me with, oh, I'm so scared of that. My immediate response was to make you either stop saying you're afraid of it or tell me why you're afraid of it so we can beat it. Like I didn't want to hear you tell me that. I had never been able to do it. And my body had that reflexive response. Like, no, I don't want to hear about you being afraid. I don't want to hear about you crying. I didn't want, all of those things. So those are just some examples. This is not me like, oh, let me tell you about my childhood, poor me, because I don't feel like that. I feel like everything happens for a reason. I absolutely feel like everything happens for a reason. And what you say, Marva, your dad was sensitive like me. Yeah, he was a tough guy, but he was really careful when it came to his children, especially his girls, and more especially me. So that's why that's my guy forever. But I said all that to say this: take accountability. I had to have a moment where I realized, okay, my response to people on an interpersonal level, even my children, hey, BJ Dez, okay, it was as a direct result of those issues, those parental issues. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about. Hey, Candace Lane, how are you? All right. Love My Dogs Too says they did what they thought was best for us then. A pathology that was probably passed down. Bingo. That's what I'm getting into, is the fact that you recognize it. So you have to take accountability so that we're not doing the same things, right? But that's why I said, taking accountability and recognizing these things, confirming it, calling it what it is, identifying it, is not because, we want to persecute our parents. I never agree with that, because like I said, they were people and they learned those responses from somewhere. I can guarantee you they did not get those responses out of the thin air. They learned it somewhere. Either there was some sort of stimuli that taught them that, or they had somebody who directly taught it to them, right? So taking accountability in this situation is recognizing when your behavior is a direct result, or it actually directly mirrors the behavior that you were taught in your childhood. If you recognize it as negative, take inventory, check yourself, see how you're treating people, see how you're coming across to people, and then consider if some of those behaviors are as a direct result of some of your, parental issues. That's why I say call your mama or your daddy, because it may be coming from one or the other, or in some situations it came from both, or both parents brought you their own set of dysfunction and toxic behaviors or reactions. The next thing that I want to say, or the next step, or the next thing that I want to address when it comes to this, is that we have to correct the bad behavior. We got to correct the bad behavior. For me, once I realized that, okay, I'm being insensitive and cold and stoic, and I'm not really, it's like all of my empathy shuts off when a person starts crying. I had to recognize that that's a toxic behavior. That's not fair. I'm not giving this person room to be human. I'm not giving them room to be themselves. And then I had to look deeper, like, hey, I'm not giving myself room to be human or to, express an emotion. And so once you recognize it and you've taken your accountability, you've taken inventory of the things that you are doing in your interpersonal relationships, the next step is to correct the bad behavior. And how we go about correcting it is one day at a time. Ain't no magic pill that I know of. If y'all know one, let me know. Okay? Before I dig too deep, have anybody other than me recognized that you carrying some of that stuff from your parents? Shakila got her mirror. Hey, Shakila. Has anybody other than me recognized that you got some behaviors that you picked up from your parents and you know it's not good behavior? Anybody at all? Or is it, if it's just me, y'all tell me it's just me and I'll take it. I'm a big girl. Iridescent Unicorn Fart says definitely. Okay, that's good. That's good. Elode says, I'm cleaning up a lot of the unintended damage that I caused my children by releasing my baggage and working through my stuff. I'm healing them. Yeah, you got to go back, and once you see it, start to clean it up. And I'm glad that I'm not the only person who carried some of that stuff with me. Hey, Megan, missed you. Yeah, we got to go back and take inventory and be like, okay, now that I see it, let me fix it. Now that I see it, let me fix it. I had to, one day at a time. There was no easy fix like, okay, it's a magic phrase you say, and now all of a sudden you got all your empathy and everything works and this and that. Yeah, now we know better. We must do better. Okay, thank you. You say you still got stuff you need to release that I've gotten from both of mine one day at a time. Oh Lord, how long? Okay, ain't no telling. Ain't no telling. Hey, TA, there's no telling. Okay. And I think that a lot of things get filed under, it happened to me, or certain situations, you just look at it like, well, I turned out fine. But in reality, did you really? Like, you turned out okay, but is it really okay to be carrying toxicity around with you? Seriously. And that's a really, deep question that you got to ask yourself, because can't nobody answer that one but you. Are you really okay? Is it okay to carry toxic behaviors? Is it okay to be mimicking those behaviors? But we got to correct the bad. We got to recognize it. There is no, well, I turned out all right. There's none of that, well, they did it to me and it's good enough for my children. You just can't do it. Okay? Rochelle said, yes, thank you. Many people don't understand that they need to clean up their mess, what they did. You got to clean it up. I had to have those moments where I literally apologized to my children. Mama, sorry. At the time, I thought that was the best thing to do. Mother is sorry. Okay. DC, I want you to handle this because somebody needs help. Says, was I upset that Danny posted a mugshot, or do you see it as what happens on YouTube? Now, before you get blocked, I'm going to explain something to you. You probably should have came here yesterday for yesterday's Crown Chat, and I want to thank you for helping me celebrate. What I will say is if someone found one, they should have done more homework and found them all. I came from a long way, sugar, and ain't no shame in my game. I can own it all because that's no longer my story. And if you ever reach out to me, I'll be happy to tell you my story. I can tell it a whole lot better than you or that person. I have no idea who that person is. But I promise you, I can tell you my story better than anybody. But DC, take care of that for me here. All right. Thank you so much. I see you got them. All right. So back to what we're talking about. Hey, High Vibe. We got to correct that behavior. We have got to correct it. And recognize that just because it happened to us, we don't have to repeat it. We don't have to repeat it. We can stop it right there. But we don't want to just, look at the things that our parents did and say, oh, well, it was bad and let's scrap it all. Let's be honest. There was a whole lot of good things that we could take away in most situations. In some rare cases, there were some, parents that didn't give you anything positive. But in a lot of cases, there were some positive things that you can take away, and you have to sort it out. You got to sort it out. You kind of keep the good. You keep the things that were positive. You may even have to do some fine tuning, right? But the bad things you can get rid of. You don't have to take everything from your childhood and say, oh, it was all bad. Take every good thing. I don't care what it was. Sharon says, I have to apologize to my children for presenting them with problems that they did not know they would have being biracial. Well, yeah, that too. That too. But we're talking about those generational things that we bring in. Okay? We're talking about those things that we're bringing on in. So on my end, okay, I think my mother was trying to condition me to be strong. She had a lot of situations where she had to be, and she wasn't given the luxury of being vulnerable or being able to cry or to show a fear response. So, her doing that, she thought she was preparing me for the world. I understand it. You know what I mean? I wasn't trying to get too deep into it, but I understand that what she was doing, she thought she was helping me. I appreciate that she had it in her heart to want to help me that way. I just think it wasn't the best way to go about it, honestly. But so because those things caused me to have a bad response and to not do the right thing, I realized that, okay, I don't need to carry this over because it caused me to resent people who were crying or showing vulnerabilities of any kind. And so I corrected it. But on the good side, that was the lady who taught me to be a lady. You know, because I was real wild. If y'all can't tell, I'm a little wild now. So she taught me how to be a lady and how to have at least a modicum of decorum. At my worst, I still had better manners than some of the folks we ran into, even here on YouTube. To this day, one of my pet peeves is bad manners because there's no need to have them. You can be decent when talking to anybody. That's why here at the Royal Family, I instituted a strict no disrespect policy because we're not going to have any. You know, I learned that from my mother. You know, learning to take care of family and put family first. I learned that from my mother. So we have to go back and say, okay, in order to make ourselves mentally healthy, y'all, because you'll crack up if all you do is focus on the negative all the time. Make a list if you need to. Okay, these were these negative things. And, you know, how is it affecting me now? How am I dealing with folks and whatnot? And make a list of the negative things that you might have picked up, and then make a list of the positive things that you might have picked up. And say, okay, well, this stuff was good. And how can I even improve on it to make it even better? How can I improve on it to make it even better? My mama made me a good cook, but I said, okay, how can I make this even more positive? My takeaway from it was, okay, when I decided to try to heal myself so I wasn't so messed up, it was like, okay, I teach my children to cook, but then I also reached out and I started teaching other people to cook. And then it became a show enough family thing. Like that good thing that she gave me, I tried my best to make it even better. Hey, Angela J. Seriously. So take the good and make it even better. And then with the bad, go ahead and get rid. You don't want it no way. So just get rid of it. Don't even put it in a box and put it in the attic. Just be done with it. And the third part of this one is maybe a little bit harder to implement. Okay, a little bit harder to implement. The third thing that I want to kind of bring to our attention is, wait, hold on. High Vibe got something to say before I go to running my mouth. High Vibe says, timely conversation. I just came home from my friend's mom's funeral. Don't stay angry with your mother or anyone, regardless of their actions. Give forgiveness for yourself. Life is short. Yes, it is. Listen, and your daddy too. Because some people, they got issues and they feel a way about these fathers, you know, and don't get me wrong. I understand everybody's not like me running around, you know, that they're their daddy's biggest cheerleader. I get it. I get it. Some daddies didn't quite measure up, and some of them were absentee. Some of them were abusive, all that stuff. Okay. I understand it. I acknowledge it. And I empathize with you on that. I may not be able to identify, but I definitely empathize with that. You know, we all seen it in our families and friend groups when these daddies were a little bit less than what they should have been. So I get it. But at some point, like Sis says, we got to forgive. Okay? You got to forgive. And you don't want to be holding that stuff. Take whatever good you could get from it. I don't care if he was on time. Anytime he said he was coming, he never showed up late. Find the silver lining. D. Marie says, I don't think anyone ever showed my parents grace. So I'm happy to be able to give them some. Exactly. Exactly. So, bear those things in mind. Our parents were people. Before my mama was my mama, she was Emma. Emma had a whole story before she became our mother. She had a whole story, a whole backstory growing up in Vienna, Georgia before she became my mama. So I had to have understanding for the fact that while she may have been flawed and made some mistakes and didn't take, she didn't do the work. Let's be honest. This work that we do trying to pick ourselves apart, our parents didn't understand any of that. No one introduced that to them. Okay? High Vibe says, someone told me once is to research why your mother is the way she is. They inherited problems that became problems for us. Yes, they became absolutely generational. They carried that stuff to us unintentionally. And then we carried it to our children, some of us. But I'm still going to say, once you recognize it, correct it. And don't be too big as a parent that you can't go back to your children and beg their pardon. Don't be too big that you can't go back and say, Mama is sorry. Okay? Mama sorry. Girl, I know I'm my daddy's biggest cheerleader. Wonder Woman Marshall says, you're right, Seanitra. Forgiveness is for your good. It is. That's right. Forgiveness is for your good. Take the good, leave the bad. The reason I'm stressing the fact that you got to take the good is because if you only focus on the negative things that came out of your childhood and the things that caused some of our bad behaviors, some of our toxic behaviors, some of our toxic responses, that does damage to you too. You don't want to look on the formative years of your life, the most impressionable years of your life, with such a negative light. You don't want to do that. DC, she all right. I'm going to bring her back. I don't think she meant that no way. But Tanya Davis, you're welcome, okay? Just, we on high alert because we had some people misbehaving. And DC is one of my girls that she don't play no games. If she sees something funny, she comes swooping in. So, we understand, and I don't believe you meant that in a way, but DC, I appreciate you for being on your job as always. I really appreciate that. Okay. 1 second. Hold on. Y'all give me just a second because I want to give that sister an opportunity, but I'm going to bring her back. Okay? So we have to remember the good as well as the bad. We don't want to do ourselves a disservice and in trying to correct our behavior, end up causing more trauma. No, you good, DC. You doing what you're supposed to do. You holding the door. And I appreciate you for that. There's no harm, no foul. That's what we got these buttons for. That's what these buttons are for. So I'm just going to go in and bring her on back. Okay? That's what we're going to do. If I can find her. Give me just a second. If I can find her. I wish they would let me just tap and undo these things. I wish. Oh, y'all bear with me. Hold on. Oh, DC, you unhid her. Thank you. I didn't know if you could, so I was trying to find her in the back to fix it. Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate that. You clicked something and it said undo. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. All right, Tanya, please accept our sincerest apologies, okay? All right. So, like I said, don't do yourself a disservice. Do not do yourself a disservice by trying to make yourself healthier and do more damage by only focusing on the negative. It is not something that you have to do. Find the good. But the third part that I wanted to get into, because y'all know I am trying to be cognizant of time. Y'all know how it is. If I don't watch that clock, we'll be up in here talking all day. Okay, you back? I'm so glad that you're back, and thank you for accepting my apology. Okay, it's just I got two of the baddest mods that I've ever seen in my life. They play no games because we do have a strict policy here, so we try to adhere to it. The third thing I want to bring to your attention is that we have to try not to transfer behavior. And we need to look at how not to transfer the behavior, not only just to children, but also in our interpersonal relationships. Even in our marriages, we have to be careful. Because listen, when you marry somebody, you're marrying a whole person with a whole history, background, upbringing that might not be like yours at all. So you got to take a look at those things, okay? You got to take a very good look at those things. And the truth of the matter is, like what the example I gave you earlier, I was not being careful. So I was transferring that. And I ended up, having people that were close to me, hey, Snooky, in close proximity to me, that I immediately kind of broke away from. And I didn't want to have that closeness with them because they were being vulnerable. And it felt like, oh God, they're going to get it all over me. Like, why are you doing this? It was immediately back to, my upbringing and the values that I was taught to have. Right? So you got to be careful that you don't transfer these things. Got to try not to transfer it. You say, ooh, sis talked. It's the truth. We got to do it. And wait, let me see what Sharon is saying here. She said, my dad left the home when I was 9, forcing my mom to work full time. Being the youngest, I felt forgotten. Okay, so let's dig. When it comes down to that, like somebody feeling forgotten or overlooked or unseen or feeling invisible, okay? I call that one that feeling of invisibility. Sometimes middle kids get that too. They feel invisible. They feel not seen. Tell me, okay, y'all give me a few examples in the chat of how you think a child feeling unheard, unseen, or invisible can affect them once they're adult. What kind of behaviors do you think might come out of that? Give me some examples. If a person feels like they're never recognized or seen or heard. Christian Keith says, how about favoritism? Okay, we're going to do that one next. This is fun. Y'all come up with some fun exercises or we come up with them together. What are some ways that someone feeling invisible, unseen, forgotten? Okay, it can come out as insecurities. Renee H says, Keaton says it can come out as attention seeking. Okay, Ialode says it can come out as passive aggressive behavior. That's a good one. Okay, yep, turns into pick me, lacking confidence. Okay, acting out to be seen. Yes, some people will even engage in negative or bad behaviors just as an effort to be seen. They don't care what they got to do. JC says if a person felt unseen as a child, they may act out as adult years by causing drama just to be, yeah, they can be drama queens. They can do way too much. Like, look at me doing crazy things, pulling stunts. Yes. Being overly critical. Esmane, that is a good one. They can become overly critical. And Iridescent Unicorn Fart says they become hyper vigilant in an inappropriate way. Yes, it turns into really bad paranoia. Alondra says, well, they might lash out in anger or be the loudest in the room because they are the most hurt in the room. It can become, they may misbehave and break the law to be seen. That's true. That's true. I've seen that. Miss Farco says envy can be a result of that. Okay, Tina say they can be stuck up. I don't know about that one. You might have to elaborate, sis. Becoming an isolationist and making yourself an island. That does happen. Some people do take it to the extreme. Like, if I'm invisible, let me stay invisible. I don't want nothing to do with nobody. That can happen too, right? That's a good one. Christian says, ignoring everyone and being to myself because I got tired of asking for the attention. So you were the isolationist. Okay. Wait, I don't want to miss none of these. These are good. Mother Diamond says promiscuity. Yes. Use money as an incentive for folks to pay attention. Yes, trying to buy friends. It happens. What you got, JC? Blaming everyone else with no self-introspection. Yes. Class cut up. Plum, thank you so much for the super sticker. I appreciate it. I do. DC, I think we good on that one. I think we good, baby. But I thank you. Thank you for being my eyes. And Plum, thank you for supporting the stream. That means so much. Janice says being the youngest of your siblings and being the loudest. I was the youngest. And I don't know if I was the loudest. I would say I was probably the most rambunctious and the most troublesome in a mischievous way. I wasn't a disrespectful child or a disobedient kid, but definitely troublesome. I got into lots of mischief. All right. Helene says, doing things to get attention from the wrong people. Yep, that happens. Hello, Amaka. Welcome. Yep, they're all great examples. So when you start seeing those behaviors, if you see them in yourself, try not to put that off on other people. All of those examples that y'all gave, those are things that can spill over into your interpersonal relationships. What happens when you're a member of a group? What happens when you're you're a member of a group? And then because you have these issues and you haven't identified them, corrected the bad behavior, guess what? Now you're going to bleed that on everybody. Not every time, you want to make sure you're seen. And then you end up becoming bitter or aggressive. Or sometimes it can turn into hurt feelings. And then you internalize that when you don't get the attention you need in that group. Because you're trying to still make up for that little girl that was on the inside that did not get it. Ooh, Tanya, you digging deep. You can end up over-explaining or get an eating disorder. I know about the eating disorder personally. That thing is for real. You got to go lunch break over. Well, I'm so glad you stopped through. I'm always happy when you pop in. Yep, they can end up acting out. So you got to make sure that your internal issues are not spilling over. That is the last thing you want to do. Your internal issues should never spill over onto other people. Don't do it. Be aware of it. Sometimes when you take the accountability moment, the mirror moment, and you acknowledge it, sometimes that's all it takes to get you, kind of going in the right direction as it pertains to not putting that on other people. Because you don't want to do that. You want people to see you as a good person. You want to be able to have healthy interpersonal relationships. So you don't want to bring that stuff like, hey, I need attention. So when you're in a group, you start to feel bitter. Yeah, that some do turn to drugs. Some do. Gwen says, too much attention as the youngest and the only girl. I stay quiet as an adult to get away from attention. That's another one too. But yeah, you don't want to be in a group setting or get in a relationship with, the man of your dreams and run him off because you're doing crazy stuff. So got to take inventory on that. Absolutely got to take inventory on those things. Okay. Very important, super important, so that we're not transferring that stuff in our interpersonal relationships. And when it comes to our children, one of the biggest things we can do to make sure, because sometimes we may think we're doing things, or we may think we're parenting one way and we may be parenting another way altogether. It may be a whole other ball of wax. So that one of the biggest things we can do when it comes to our children is to listen to them. Listen to them. Let your children let you know how you're doing. It would even help sometimes to allow your children to give you a report card. Put the titles down or the columns, and let your children grade you. Let them tell you how you're doing as a parent. And sometimes with them telling you how you're doing as a parent, that will help you. Yeah, that is why a lot of them join gangs, because they were trying to get something that they did not get. But let your children tell you how you're doing. You may not think that you copying mama and daddy's behavior, but your children may tell you something altogether different. If you sit down and talk with your babies and they start telling you, well, mama, every time I start crying, you tell me to shut up, then you can realize, like, oh man, I am bringing some of that stuff. And I've talked with a couple of people. Some of y'all have talked with me or called me or whatever. And I done told y'all everybody can reach me. I'm not hard to reach. But there was a lot of my behaviors corrected because of my children. Namely, my oldest, the one that pops in here with us from time to time. A lot of my behaviors changed because I didn't like the way my children saw me. And I didn't want to be that person in front of my children. Their opinion of me mattered enough that I was like, okay, that's not who I want them to think they have as a mother. That's not what I want them to know as their mother. So I made corrections based on that. Listen to your kids and let them tell you some stuff. And when they start sitting there, I promise you it's going to be a couple of moments where your child is going to sound like a younger version of yourself. It's going to take you all the way back to all the stuff you wish you could have said to your parents. So when it comes to the parenting part of it, where you may be transferring some of those bad behaviors, thank you for the bullseye, Shaquila. Thank you. Talk to those kids and let them tell you, and don't make them feel like it's going to be any type of, retaliation or anything for anything they say. Make them feel safe when they talking. Let them know it's a safe environment. No name, no blame, no judgment. Just let them tell you how they really feel about your parenting. Allow them to grade you. Let them grade you. Let them grade your performance. Y'all go on these clear people jobs and you let them give you performance evaluations. So allow your children to give you a performance evaluation. Let them tell you how you're doing. And when you listen to your babies, it's going to sound like some of the same stuff that you wish you could have told your mama, or you wish you could have told your daddy or big mama. Because some of the folks in here might have been raised by big mama. Mama might have been gone. Mama might have been working or in another situation. I ain't being funny. I'm just being real. Y'all know what it was. Y'all, especially those of us my age and directly under. We had a lot of the, not my parents, but I had friends who had parents who ended up getting caught up in the whole crack situation. So there were some mamas that weren't there due to some unfortunate circumstances. So if it was big mama that raised you or auntie that raised you, whoever, when you talk to your children, make sure that what they're giving you is not some of the same things that you wish you had the ability to say and you didn't feel safe to say as a kid. That's kind of how you'll understand a little bit better whether you're carrying some of that bad baggage. Okay? Not just with your children, the people that are closest to you. Let them talk to you. Don't walk around and feel like you're uncheckable. That's why I'm always telling y'all, I am not uncheckable at all. Anybody can check me. I don't care who you are. You should be real enough that you can be checked. A lot of people around you, the comfort and the safety to tell you really how they feel about your behavior, and then you need to accept it. Accept it. I'm not saying that everything they tell you is going to be right. Sometimes it's just going to be their feelings, but accept it. Don't try to invalidate their feelings. Take that in and start thinking about, okay, is this just their feeling? Did I do something to make them see me that way? Kind of, check some of that stuff, because a lot of our behaviors that we put out, believe it or not, it goes all the way back to the sandbox, as I like to say, back to you being a kid, and some of that behavior, that we learned and soaked up and absorbed is coming back out, and not in a good way. Yep, they are a reflection of us. Absolutely. Helene, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate you. Says, I barely cried in front of my children because I didn't want them to think I was showing a sign of weakness. Me too, girl. Me too. Thank you for the super chat. But you raised a good point. Like I said, I had to go back and apologize. It was nothing else for me to do. As a woman, I feel like you gotta, as a parent, you have to be humble enough to recognize when your behavior is not good for your children. It's cool to correct it. It's important to correct it, but it's also important to acknowledge it to that kid and go back and say, I don't care if they're grown, when you figure out that some of your lessons, either given overtly or covertly, were harmful. And if you recognize that, don't just say, oh, I'm not going to do it going forward, but then you try to sweep the damage under the rug. Don't do that. Go back to those babies and say, you know what? I'm sorry. Mama, sorry. I shouldn't have done things that way. Explain yourself. Give them an idea of who you were. Y'all know our parents didn't always do that. We had to get grown and find out these people's backstories. We had whole superheroes in our house, and we did not know their backstories or why they had their superpowers. We didn't know nothing about them people. We got those, like, the older you get, the more and more stuff started to come out. Then you heard things, and that helped you to understand. When you apologizing to those children, and I hope that you will, if you've done some things that wasn't cool, make sure they understand who you were before you became mama. And maybe that'll give them a better understanding about themselves, because they may be struggling with some of the same issues you struggled with, but because you're not opening it up and making it a safe place for them to talk, now they're not talking to you about things. I've gone to my daughter after those apologies, and it's like, look, let me tell you a little something about your mama. This is what was going on. This is the kind of situations I was in. You know, because with everything, my kids never knew nothing was going on. They thought everything was wonderful. And when I broke some stuff down, it was like, okay, now it makes sense. And then the child opened up and she started saying, you know, I suffer with some of that. Like, I have to catch myself because I end up acting like this or I end up acting like that. So, hey, talk. Apologize. Give them some of your backstory. I'm not saying talk to them about grown people business. You know, don't get low down and dirty like Robin tried to pull on Potomac. You know, some stuff, don't take that to your children. But if you know that you brought them something that is damaging or potentially damaging in your behavior, correct it and apologize. Ialode says, yes, it's important to know and understand how our children are experiencing us. Very true. Love My Dogs Too says, I guess I just had a tear ministry because I cried with and in front of mine. Yeah, you got to cry sometime. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Diamond Pearl Jim say, girl, them backstories still coming out, don't they? They come out when you least expect it because they didn't tell us anything. You know, we never got no apology. You can forget that. We weren't getting no apologies, but they didn't give us any backstories. We didn't know who these people were. You know, it's funny when you say it like that, but we really ain't know them people. We didn't know them. We didn't know nothing about them whatsoever. We didn't know who these people were. So I think that, you know, it's cool. I understand to stay in a child's place. I subscribe to that thought process as well. But they need to know a little bit of who you are. They got to know a little bit. Hey, Lala. Yeah, Shaquila, they didn't tell us nothing, girl. It was all a secret. We got grown and started finding out that grandmama was mad and mean all the time because granddaddy had another lady across town and a whole family over there. You know, you didn't know why your mama didn't let you go nowhere. It was because somebody touched her when she was young, so she had all this PTSD. We didn't know. We knew nothing. Absolutely nothing about these folks. So I feel like we can correct a lot of that behavior. We do not have to continue to engage in that behavior with our babies. It doesn't help anything at all. And also with, like I said, the people that are in interpersonal relationships with us. Got to bear that in mind. Diamond Pearl Jim says, 10 months ago, I found out I had a sister in Florida. Girl, ain't no telling. Hey, Vanessa, it's true. That stuff comes out later, much, much, much later. Hey, Lady Di. Hey, Dana. You were late. That's all right. I'm glad you made it in. So y'all know what time it is. It's time to look at our takeaways from our chat today, right? So one is taking inventory, taking accountability. Hey, Keisha E., how you doing? Okay, taking accountability, making sure that we recognize and identify those behaviors or toxic responses that we picked up from our parents, meaning, like we covered, directly mirroring that behavior or having a response to others as a result of behavior that we experience. Oh, y'all, excuse me. The second thing we want to take away is correcting the bad behavior. Once you, what you say, Wonder Woman Marsha, you say you don't want it to end. Oh, man. That's all right. Friday, we'll have time. We'll be able to stay a little bit longer on Fridays. Or maybe I'll switch that to Wednesdays and we'll do that there. Yep, the silent generation. Lynn Brand says, or it never comes out. They take it to the grave. Yours still won't talk. Some of them do. They say some of them do take it to the grave. That's true. The second thing we want to take away, y'all, is correct the bad behavior. Once you identify it and you take inventory and say, hey, I'm doing this. Dang, mama did that. Or daddy did that. That's where I get that mess from. You know, once you have that moment where you can recognize it, correct the bad behavior and be very careful. Very, very careful. Yeah, catch the replay. Hey, Miss Juicy Couture. I ain't seen you in a minute, girl. I guess my timing is off. Maybe I need to do things at a different time. But also embrace the good. We have to make sure that we are not only focusing on the bad in our childhood. Reason being, like I said, those are your formative years. You will end up doing more harm, I believe, psychologically to yourself if you only view your most influential and formative years, some of the most meaningful years of your life as negative. If you only view it through a negative lens while you are trying to help yourself, I believe that you can truly do more harm than good. So we got to take that into consideration. And thirdly, of course, try not to transfer that stuff over to your children. Try not to transfer that mess over in your marriages, in your friendships, in your friend groups, okay? Your charitable organizations that you're a part of, your sororities, okay? You got to do it. You've been working. Oh, you've been on the replay squad. Well, I miss you anyway. I just want you to know I recognize when you're not here. Yes. So make sure that we're not transferring that stuff over. We don't want to be part of perpetuating it and carrying it on. We don't know how long that mess got carried over before it got to us, but we can, take control. That accountability mirror, we have control. Let's take control of the situation and say, okay, I'm going to correct it from here, and I'm not going to transfer that mess not one more time. It's going to stop here in my house. Now, your siblings may not do the work, and they may carry it, okay? But the reality is you can put a stop to it. Shaquila says, this confirms that I need a therapist. Well, you know what, sis? That's what these talks are for us to do some self-examination and make sure we're pretty on the inside and out. And if you see that there's a need for a therapist, kudos to you for recognizing it. After you do all your inventory, if that's what you came to, I applaud you. And please let me know how it goes. Like everything. I think that's awesome. I'm somebody who is an advocate for mental health. Like, make sure that you're mentally okay and you're not carrying stuff that's harming you. April C says, I had to be the one to break the dysfunctional family syndrome. Exactly. It can always be you. You don't need everybody in the family to agree with you. And this is a side note, y'all. I promise I'm not going to go off on no tangents. I promise. Okay. Wait, I didn't realize I transferred trauma to my marriage until I went to counseling a couple of years ago. Yeah. Hey, Vanessa, it's true. So you got to take a chance and go to counseling. I know that's not the most comfortable thing for us to do, but go to counseling when you need to. But what was I about to get into? Remind me. I got y'all know I get distracted early. It was something I really wanted to say about the whole mental health thing. It'll come back to me. I'm getting old. Forgive me. But it's very important that we recognize those things, go get the help. That stigma concerning therapy that's in our community I know what I want to talk about. The stigma is real, but we don't have to embrace that stigma. And what I was about to hit on is that need that we have sometimes to try to bring our whole family along with us. It's like once we recognize that something's bad, you had to be the one to break the dysfunction. Okay. That's right. It's gonna be me. Be the one breaking the dysfunction. Don't try to worry about if your whole family agrees with you. It's kind of like once you recognize your behavior and you recognize the toxicity in the family and the things that are being perpetuated, our first instinct is, y'all, we got to stop this. We want to tell everybody. We want to holler at y'all. Y'all, we got to stop this. Sometimes y'all and we don't apply in these situations. Once you realize it, fix it for you. And sometimes you fixing it for you is enough to make the other one say, well, you know what? Maybe we should do better. But don't get discouraged or, be over the top with the fact that your family just will not agree with you. They won't see reasons with you. You trying to make them open up and express. They may not be ready to at all. Lady Di says that part. Your siblings not doing their healing makes it difficult to have healthy relationships with them. They see you as attacking your parents. I just want to do better so my sons can do better. It's true, and they may see it that way, and it's unfortunate. The thing is, you do your best so that you're being fair with everyone, but unfortunately, it can't be your responsibility for how they respond. Sometimes their responses are because they're not ready to acknowledge or face certain things, or maybe it's painful for them to face it or call it out, or maybe they just become so accustomed to the dysfunction that you're basically challenging their way of life. So you got to consider that. DC done came back with them scissors. Y'all know sis be quick to do some cutting. I'm surprised she ain't grabbed them red bottoms out of them royal emojis. Okay? Yep, everybody travels their own road. So sometimes, if it turns into a situation, Lady Di, where they're resentful of you because you're correcting the dysfunction in your own life and your own path, then you may have to love them from a distance. DC say cut them. Y'all know me. I just say distance yourself. It has to be a while before I just cut. Miss Reese says, I've been taking what I learned here back to my sisters and nieces. I've met a little resistance from one person, but I'm not going to stop trying. That's the spirit right there. That's the attitude. Don't stop trying. As long as you're bringing it in love, I'm a firm believer. Eventually, they may not take everything you're saying, but some of it will get through. Some of it will get through. And when it comes, and not just family, when it comes to friends too, you can tell people the right thing to do, but it does not mean that they're going to listen. Remember we had a crowd chat about that, about when things becomes unwanted advice. So you can tell them and you can show them by example. If they're not ready, they're not ready. Yes, or wash their negativity off of you. They go out DC. DC plays no games, boy. She's quick with the cut. Quick with the cut. So listen, y'all, we ain't gonna talk this topic to death. We can't do it. It's the middle of the week. I know y'all got things to do, and me too, for that matter. But I enjoyed you all. I enjoyed your input and your feedback. This was a good chat. I do know that those, when we start talking about, the parentals and some of the stuff, it's not always the most pleasant or comfortable thing to talk about. But I'm always glad, that we can get into it and start talking about these things as a family in a very safe and wholesome, or I want to say supportive environment, because I don't want to say wholesome. This ain't no Pepper Farm commercial, but as in a supportive environment. So people, with people that can identify with you and try to see reasons with you and where you're coming from. Hey, Queen Mermaid. She says, hi, family. I have to catch the replay. I wanted to stop and drop in and spread some love. Y'all hit the like button. Okay. I love it. DC says she's cartwheeling away from negativity. Listen, that's what you got to do. All you can do is show love. All you can do is show love. And some people ain't going to accept it, correct your behavior. And either they're going to pick up on what you're putting down or they not. Always remember, even when it comes to friend groups, family, whatever, you can give your advice. But after you give your advice, understand that it may catch a hold and grow later, it may not, but just trust the fact that you did your part. Your hands are clean. Okay, your hands are clean. Dana Cutler, you said it. I didn't, but it's true. Love rules all. Love is the oldest and the most powerful of things, and don't you ever forget it. So keep moving in love, and anybody who wants to turn it into something else because they can't control you and make you engage in toxicity, because that's what happens with family and friend groups. Sometimes they want to force you to engage in the toxicity. You can say no. And what did we learn here in Crown Chat weeks back? No is a complete sentence. We have the right to say no. We have the right to defend our no. And we have the right to make people respect our no. No is a complete sentence. And we do not have to continue to engage in the toxicity. Vanessa says, I jacked up all of my marriages because of childhood trauma. So true. Yep. We don't have to do it, y'all. And let's not. Let's not and say we did. Okay? We don't need that. We've had enough. I think everybody in here has had enough days where you weren't happy. You've had enough days where you wasn't smiling. No need to add to it. Life gonna do enough of that on its own. Okay? Lord, DC got the no and the scissors. And love my dogs too. Said no means no. Okay. Well, listen, I'm going to get on up out of here, y'all. Y'all know I'm always on the run. So literally, I'm grabbing purse and keys because I got to jump in that truck and get on down the road. I got a lot of stuff I got to try to get done today. Still not a great back day, but I'm here. I'm still smiling. I'm not going to break down. We're going to keep on keeping on. And got a therapy session scheduled for tomorrow as well. So we'll see how that turns out. Y'all cross your fingers for me. HU Angel 1, what you say, girl? Yes, no is a complete sentence. That ain't even mine. I think Nicole gave us that one. Yes. Mm-hmm. So that's that. Miss Delightfully, blessings and good vibes to you too. I hope you guys have a wonderful Tuesday. A wonderful Tuesday. I'm losing days now, but have a great Tuesday. Enjoy the rest of your day. Remember our itinerary for the rest of the evening. Please and thank you. And also, if you did not hit the like button on the way in, please, please, please hit the like button on the way out. If you came to hang out and you enjoyed our good time in here today, consider subscribing. You are most welcome here. Also, if you'd like to join our royal family, channel membership link is in the description box below the video. All right. So I think we covered everything. You all are wonderful. I enjoyed you. Have a great rest of your day. And you all remember, stay encouraged. And most of all, remember to encourage somebody else. I love y'all so much. And we'll talk to you later this evening. Okay? Bye, y'all.